Hi folks, Speedway Tag here again. Another little video about one of the Oniverse games and the expansions that come with it. But I'm doing Urbion today, which is a very difficult game to get these days because it came out after Onirim in this small box version, because that's how the first two came out. And then after Urbion was produced, then Z-Man Games picked up the series, and the rest is history. And then Sylvion came along, and Castellion, and Nautilion, Aerion, and Stellarion. And Urbion is still yet to get an update to the new format, but the news is that it is going to get one very shortly. But this is what the original Urbion looked like, and for a very long time this was like the holy grail for me. I just couldn't find it anywhere, as most people had the same experience. Finally got a French copy just last year, and so have been thrilled to be able to finally play this game and get to know it, because as I've said a million times, the Oniverse is series of games really is my favorite series of games of all time. And this one is absolutely fantastic. I can't wait for it to be reprinted and redone, probably with more expansions, as is usually the case. The artwork on this in this game is probably my favorite of the whole series, which is really strange to say, considering it's the only one that has not been reprinted, republished. But I really do feel that. I think the artwork on these cards, as you can see some of it already here, it's classic Oniverse artwork, but I feel that it's to a different level, a higher level. It's just so fascinating to dig deep into these illustrations and see what's really going on there in the Oniverse. I love the idea that some of the characters that Shadi Torbey introduced in this game, eventually he reused as he brought to life some of the newer games like Sylvion and Aerion and Castellion. For example, you can see the pyros from Castellion that would eventually end up in Castellion here in Urbion first, and you can see that elephant or elephant-like creature there that eventually turned up in Sylvion, and same with that fish. The Sogne there, I believe, I'm pretty sure turns up in Aerion as well. And so there's this great connection between this game Urbion and the games that would follow. And I can't wait, as I keep saying, I can't wait to see this game get what it deserves. And that's a full republished version with in the bigger box with the more expansions. But I do want to show you some of the expansions that came with Urbion initially. First of all, as I normally do, I'll just give you a very quick rundown on how Urbion plays as a base game first. The story here is you are the king. I think it's king. Yes, you are the king of Urbion, which is the city of dreams. And it says here in the theme, for eons the incubi, that's the bad dreams, and the Sogne, the happy dreams, have dwelled in this city, as opposed by complementary forces. Your difficult task is to maintain or re-establish the delicate balance between those dreams. Place them in the various districts of the cities, harness their power so that no group becomes more powerful than the other, and beware of the chaos, fearsome entities that thrive on discord and hatred. You start this game by laying out 4 of the 12 city cards right down the middle. There's the city card deck right there. There's 12 of them, and I've got 4 coming down the middle here. So these 4 right here. And again, the artwork on these city cards are just magnificent. I ought to say also that that these original games, Onirim and Urbion, when printed in this original format, actually came with linen cards, linen finished cards, which none of the other subsequent Oniverse games came with. And I always missed that. That was the one thing I was disappointed about. And yet Urbion, as it continues to surprise me, has got the linen finish on the cards. These are the first 4 cities that we have to get in balance, and I love this city. Just the weirdness of the Oniverse is just so encapsulated by this card. It's a city of bubbles underwater. The houses exist inside the floating bubbles, and the bubbles are blown by this weird looking giant fish. Amazing. Typical Oniverse. And so the way we balance these 4 cities, and all 12 eventually, is by playing bad dreams on this side of the cities and good dreams on this side of the cities. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to balance the totals so that when the cards on either side of the city are added up, it comes to 0. And look, this one's already balanced. You see here, the bad dream here has got a value of -1. The good dream on the other side has got a value of +1. That makes 0. So this city would be considered in balance now. This one, of course, isn't, because it's got nothing on the positive side. But on the negative side, it's got a total of -6. So there's a bit of work still to do to balance that city. So we'll have to get some happy dreams on this side. This city's same state as the one before. There's nothing on the bad side, but there's +3 on the good side. So again, it's going to take a bit of manipulation to get the right balance there, because you're not automatically going to draw the exact numbers that you need. And the cards you do draw, you have to place. So eventually it's going to take quite a bit of manipulation to move things around to get it done. And this final city here, we've got -1 on the bad dream side, and oh, look at that, +1 on the other side. So that's considered balanced as well. And the way a turn goes, it's very, very simple. You've got a hand of 4 cards to start with, and each card from the deck is either a good dream or a bad dream. And you start you start your turn by taking one of these cards, either placing it next to one of the cities to try and get moving with balancing the numbers, or actually discarding the card for one of 2 effects. So, for example, I might like to place this positive good dream with our Urbion elephant on it, maybe on this city. That would be great, because I need to get a few more numbers here on the right. But this is where it gets tricky, because this city is telling me I can only place fire or earth symbols on this side. Oh, actually, I've got an earth symbol on this card. So yeah, so the city actually tells you what symbols you're allowed to play. You can't play, there's 4 symbols in the game: air, water, earth, and fire. And so certain cities will allow you to play certain elements on your cards. So this one's fine. As you can see, I've got an earth symbol on this, so I can actually play that there. And now the total is 2 to -6. So I've got to keep moving with that if I want to get that balance. You can only play a maximum of 3 cards on either side as well, which makes things quite difficult. And then you just draw another card here, and you keep going, and you try to get things balanced. So on my bubble city side, it's probably a good idea to start getting a couple of negative cards here. If I had a -3 and it had a cloud on it, that would be perfect. And lo and behold, I've got a bad dream that's a -3 and a cloud on it. So I can actually, well, air, I should say, and I can play that there. And now this city is in perfect balance. And for me to claim that city, all I need to do is discard one of my cards, because that's one of the effects of discarding your card. So I might discard this, and that allows me to claim that balanced city. So I just put that here in my victory pile. The cards get discarded, and I've got 1 out of 12 cities now balanced. And I go up there and I put a new city in there, and we just keep going. And I'll put a couple of cards there as well to get it started. And I need to draw up here as well, back up to 4. We've got the pyros. So we keep going like this. Another effect of discarding a card. So if you don't want to play a card to the city tableau, you can discard a card, and by doing that, it allows you to swap cards in on either side. So I can swap cards on the positive side, and I can swap cards on the negative side. I can't swap negative to positive. So you are getting these happy and bad dreams. You're trying to balance them correctly, and that's what these cities want. So it's quite thematic. The artwork, of course, draws you into the theme and makes it all make sense. And there's one other thing to mention in this game, and that is eventually you're going to hit, just like you hit the nightmare cards in Oniverse, you're going to hit some bad cards in this as well. And let me see if I can find one of those for you. Where are we? There's one. Okay, so let's say I drew one of these cards. They're called chaos cards. So in Oniverse they're called nightmares, but in here they're called chaos cards, and they're either -5 or +5, and you have to place it there, and you have to place it on the side that's got the biggest total. So it goes as far as it can to try and mess you up. So I have to play this somewhere in my tableau, and it's really gonna mess me up. For example, if I wanted to play it, let's say if I wanted to play it here in this city, you know, I'd have to play it on this big side, and therefore now this becomes -11. Or if I wanted to play it here, I'd have to play it on the positive side where the biggest total is, and now that becomes a +5, and this is oh sorry, yeah, if I did it here, there'd be +6 on this side as well. So these go into your tableau to make it a lot harder to balance up the numbers, or you can actually discard it and ruin a balanced city that you've already done, or you can discard it and get rid of some cards from the deck, which is no good, because when the deck runs out and if you haven't got all 12 cities, you lose. So you have to deal with these, and they're quite tricky to deal with. So that's basically the game of Urbion. It's a really nice balancing act of mathematics, I guess. But you know, the theme is so good, you kind of forget that you're just working with mathematics here, and you get drawn in to the whole dreamscape of this series. And so, yeah, the challenge really is to be able to swap cards when you need to, because you're not always going to draw cards that will fit beautifully on either side to balance things. You're going to have to discard cards for its ability to swap cards on either side of the cities to get the balance achieved. But I did want to show you the expansions in this game as well. For, those 2 cards up there are used in the 2-player game, because in the 2-player game, one person will hold the bad dream card, another player will hold the good dream card, the happy dream card, and those are the only dream cards that player is able to play at that time. So you share the burden there a little bit. But the 2 main expansions, the first one is the Book of Powers, which are these 8 cards here. At the start of the game, you will shuffle these up and get rid of 2. Okay, so I'll get rid of, let's just get rid of 2 random ones here. And then you start revealing as many as you want in terms of how easy you want the game to be. So I might reveal 4. Okay, and discard the others. All these are, it's very simple. They just give you another ability to perform with that action of discarding a card during your turn. So remember, when you discarded a card during your turn, you were able to swap things on either side of the city, or you were able to claim a balanced city card. Well, now when you discard a card, you can also use one of the Book of Powers, the powers in the book. And they're various helpful powers. For example, this one allows you to move two bad dream cards. Move one bad dream card to another city, which is really helpful. So if I needed a 3 down here, I could take one of these -3s and just move it down by using this power. And they remain for the entirety of the game. They're there to use. This one, this will allow you to look at the top 2 cards of your deck and rearrange them. This one will allow you to move a Sognay card or a Happy Dream card to another spot, just like the Bad Dream one over here. And this is another one of the prophecy ones where you look at the top 2 cards of the deck. There's some other ones too where you can get a free city card. This one is you get an extra city card if you balance a city, and so on. So that's playing with the Book of Powers. So I might discard one of my cards like that and say, oh, you know what, I'm going to use this power, and I'm going to move this incubi down here for some reason. And you don't have to, I don't think you have to adhere to the symbol rule on the cities. I think that's correct, but I'm not 100% sure about that. So yeah, the Book of Powers just adds these special abilities in to the game, and it just changes it up a little bit. I think it would probably, on first play, I feel it probably makes it a little bit easier, but it's just a little bit more interesting and fun and varied because you've got a few more things that you can do. The other expansion, let me see what that's called because I always forget what that's called. That second expansion is called, let's see here. Okay, here it is. Book of Powers is the first one, and the second one is called Arch Squares and Metas. These are the arch squares. The arch squares are basically 4 more cities that you have to balance to win the game. So now you'll be balancing 16 cities to win. I really like this. It makes it harder. And these cities, as you can see, the symbols on them have got all 4 symbols. So while it makes it harder, this is the beauty of the Oniverse series. There's always this give and take, which it's always a perfect balance. Even though you've got more cities required to win the game, each one of these have got all 4 symbols on them. So it makes it a lot easier to place cards you need next to these cities. So these are called the arch squares, and they would just come down in here with the rest of the cities, and they'd go into that deck at the top, and you just add them in. And the second part of this expansion is called the metas. And metas are basically dream cards, just like what we've been playing, the negatives and the positives. But the metas, look at that artwork. It's just fantastic, isn't it? It's just beautiful. The metas have got both positive on one half and negative on the other half. And so when you draw these, when you refill your hand, you get to decide whether you want to use this card as a positive or a negative. And this gets thrown in with the arch squares. So again, it helps you in the task of getting 16 cities for a victory instead of the regular 12. So so these are basically half dream cards, half positive and half negative, and you just flip it around and play them on the side that you want them to be. If I wanted to be negative, I'd play it like that. If I wanted to be positive, I'd flip it over and play that. And so those are the metas, and there's, I think, looks like there's 8 of them. they would just get shuffled up into this dream deck, and away you'd go, and you'd play the game as usual. So both expansions don't really change things, the basic mechanisms of the game very much, as many of the subsequent Oniverse games do. As if you think of some of them, they really do change the tasks at hand and the purposes of the games in a lot of ways. These ones don't. They just tweak it a little bit, but you do feel like you're still playing the same game. The Book of Powers, as I said, just gives you a few more abilities to use when you discard a card, and the arch squares and the metas just make you require to get 16 cities instead of 12, and a couple of cards to help you do that. So, and I don't mind that. You're still playing the base game, but with a few changes. I still think it's quite engaging. I hope you get a good impression of what Urbion is like, and hopefully what it will be when it comes out again finally in the big box version. But those are the expansions that came with it initially. Good luck trying to find this one. It does pop up from time to time, but you'd be very lucky to get it. But I hope you do, because it's really worth a play. Okay, thanks for watching.